And your boy just got back from pediatrics, and this particular video idea has been on my mind for an extremely long time, so I'm not gonna take and jump around it. Anabolic steroid use. I'm aware that a lot of my viewers are against the use of steroids, but the recent lights and events, I thought that it would be a good idea to tackle it from a medical perspective, to educate those who are taking it, those who are thinking of taking it, and those who are doing neither. I do understand in terms of bodybuilding and sports and in any professional area why people do have to take steroids. Those who are, I do highly advise that do so under the provision of a medical professional for your own health. I also thought that this is also a topic that touches home for me. You'll understand why more in the video, but let's kick off the video. Dr. Diamond Shedding Secrets, the ugly truth of being unnaturally shredded.
Kiss me while we driving. 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 Say kiss me while we driving.
To be honest, the fitness industry is popping right now. I read that global fitness generates $80 billion a year, and $1 billion from that is from India alone. We use social media as our way to spread our message in terms of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We share our tips, our ideas to be able to help people's general life. We also share our lifestyle, the money, the cars, the homes, the holidays, and that on our viewers sets an impression. I myself was a viewer before I decided to open up a YouTube channel, and I am an impressionable gentleman. I have been inspired by many YouTubers, and I sit here today because of them. But at the same time, that can also be very detrimental to a lot of the people that are watching these videos, and it's a strong reason why I've decided to. The aesthetic lifestyle has been glorified, and anabolic steroid use, I have seen that this glorification of our lifestyle has led to a proportional increase to the amount of steroids that people are using just for cosmetic reasons or for the hope to blow up a YouTube channel, to gain a mass following. And let me show you guys an exact example of this from a YouTuber called NeoShreds, and this is what he had to say about steroids and fitness.
People, when I started working out, I went to the internet for advice. I didn't know what to do, and I started looking up at online fitness personalities for motivation. Everyone that I looked up to was being accused of steroid use. Part of the reason why I hopped on, because they just kind of cut all hope for me. I thought that if I want to get a good physique, I have to take steroids. There's no other way around it.
And that was absolutely shocking to me. I also saw this particular documentary by BBC in terms of steroid use in the United Kingdom.
I don't know the exact number of anabolic steroid users there are, but it certainly measures in the hundreds of thousands. We're seeing now a different population of users. While we still have people who are using for purposes of bodybuilding, we're seeing a new population of predominantly young males, but also quite older males as well, who are using purely for cosmetic purposes. There's a number of pressures on young men, and most of these pressures weren't around a generation ago. These are things like social media.
Now guys, this particular video is something close to my heart because it involves a friend of mine, Brandon Harding. And I want you guys to know, a lot of my viewers, that me and Brandon have discussed this topic, especially me making this video, and he's fully agreed to be involved in it. And there's nothing, the idea of this is to educate more than anything. So a year and a half ago, Brandon FaceTimed me and he told me, "Yo Mike, I lost my natty card." And obviously I showed my concerns and expressed them to Brandon, but I also am a good friend and I support him when the decisions he makes, as long as he's aware of all the consequences. Brandon and I have been friends since 100 subscribers, maybe even 1,000, not to exaggerate, and I've seen him grow and we've grown together. And Brandon has recently come out about his use for steroids in his upcoming competition. This is what he had to say.
4.5 years before I even considered going down the anabolic chicken route. I didn't mess with my genetic capacity until 4.5 years of training, and I would recommend, if you're ever gonna do it, the same for you guys. Don't be the 16-year-old that buys some stuff from China and thinks that they're gonna turn into, you know, Jay Cutler overnight. It's just not gonna happen. You need to build a foundation for yourself, and just as much as protein is a supplement, anabolic steroids are also just a supplement. They're not gonna give you the physique you want like that. You're not just gonna take stuff and get massive. You have to put in more work. You have to eat more food. You have to be that much more conscious about your health. You have to have regular checkups. You have to be that much more concerned with your physical well-being when you go to that side. My competition prep stack has been, it started off with Test E. I'm just gonna give the brief names. Test E, it's a slow acting test, and I took this to about 6 weeks out. Then converted to Test Prop, which is a faster acting test, and I'll be having this all the way up to a week before the show, because you do wanna stop injectables a week before your competition. Next, I've been having slow acting Mastron up until 6 weeks, and then fast acting Mastron, so TMT. Test, Mast, and Tren. Tren, slow acting, try Tren, and then fast acting 6 weeks before the show. So it's pretty basic, slow acting, and then TMT, fast acting until about a week before the show. Then it's all cut out because you want to stop injectables and only have orals. Now, as far as orals go, which is tablet form, not injectables, I've been having T3, which is a very minor fat burner. I've been having this for the past 4 weeks, and then you have it until show day. It's very minor. Obviously, I want to rely on my cardio and my dieting for my condition, and I'm also having a little bit of Winstrol just before the show, just to harden up and dry out. That is pretty much my whole stack.
Now, I want you guys to keep in mind a lot of the things that Brandon said. And from me, myself, Brandon is one of the most hardworking individuals I've met. Aside from steroids, in terms of how serious he takes bodybuilding and fitness, and his YouTube channel and the effort he puts is no second to anyone else. And you must take a lot of what he's saying in, but I will also bring a dark truth to a lot of things that he's mentioned in terms of the steroids he's taking. Now let's quickly talk about the mechanism of action of steroids. Let's take testosterone epinate for example. Imagine a muscle cell. That particular steroid targets that muscle cell and activates the muscle cell to grow larger. There's been studies that people who even take steroids without any fitness or training has seen an increase in muscle mass. So you can imagine how your body and your physique can transform taking steroids under the best conditions that you can do so, and that is one of steroids' functions. That's the anabolic effect. It also has its androgenic effect, but we'll get into that. Now, the short-term side effects you guys are very aware of. The acne, the mood swings, the hair loss, the loss of sex drive, and so on. And in my opinion, this particular toxicity of the steroid is mild. And a lot of people now have anti-estrogens and a lot of steroids that actually work against these particular side effects and their solutions to them. But the problem lies with the long-term side effects, and I am witnessing these long-term side effects affecting people more and more. Stay tuned, watch, and see what I'm talking about. Now, the long-term side effects, the one that is predominant is the cardiovascular one. People who do take steroids, there are studies proven that there has been increased risk of atherosclerotic disease and cardiomyopathies, especially hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is when the walls get thick, heavy, and hypercontractile. Essentially, the muscles grow a lot larger because new sarcomeres are added in parallel to existing ones. Usually the left ventricle is affected, and in most cases the muscle growth is asymmetrical, meaning that the interventricular septum grows larger relative to the free wall.
And this, guys, leads to death. But let me dive deeper into this topic. What a lot of people don't realize that the heart is also a muscle. So over years of using steroids, the dependency that you have to maintain that physique to look that particular way will lead you to using them more and more over time. It's just never just that once, unless you do change your time, lead to these long-term side effects, especially cardiovascularly, which are irreversible. And I'm going to use some of these influencers as a topic. Have a look.
That physical said, you know, the time is coming up where I see your heart, the performance going down, that you need soon a valve replacement. So I said to them, well, you know, why not just do, let's do it in 2 years from now. And he says, it's fine. So right after the back.
You tried them and they worked. I tried them and god damn. Oh man, they worked. I had fucking super veiny, ass was so fucking hard. I tried to put the needle in my ass and fucking bent. The fucking needle bent. My ass was that fucking hard.
This is my first time seeing CT since the operation, and I couldn't be happier. I swear.
Well, you ain't no happier than I am. And it's the first podcast that I'm doing since receiving new heart too, man. We appreciate it.
And if Dallas McCarver accounted for these risks, he could have lived up until old age, but unfortunately he died at only the age of 26. So he was very young. Because of his death, it was an acute cardiac event which caused his death. Now, he had severe concentric left ventricular hypertrophy, which basically means the muscle wall on the left chamber of his heart thickened. Now, he did have severe cardiomegaly. He had an 833-gram heart. A normal human being of his age would have a heart around 280 grams, so his heart was over twice the size of a normal human being of his age. Now, if we take a look at Rich Piana's autopsy results, Rich Piana also had cardiomegaly, but his heart was 670 grams. Now, also keep in mind, Rich Piana was 46 years old, whereas Dallas was only 26. So, even though Rich Piana was 20 years older than Dallas, Dallas still had a larger heart than Rich Piana, and that's pretty frightening. I think this is the most significant finding in his autopsy report, so of course he did test positive for anabolic steroids.
These are a lot of people that inspired me that have recently undergone these particular problems, a lot of them, and on media-wise they've portrayed it as being a cause from something else, but the reality is that use of steroids is a risk factor in terms of being able to achieve these particular diseases. Some things that other people also don't mention is that if your muscle is growing at an insane rate, your tendons aren't growing at that rate, and your tendons aren't able to sustain the weight and the growth that you're growing at. And a particular example is one of my favorite YouTubers. Have a look.
Host of issues that come with taking testosterone unnecessarily. We know that there is an increase in the type of cholesterol that leads to cardiovascular issues like stroke and heart attack. We've seen sudden cardiac death in young athletes who otherwise had no cardiac issues and were taking testosterone or other androgens. We see tendon rupture.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So many of you guys may have already seen that Callum Von Moger tore his bicep recently. So the way that he tore his bicep, he was doing an Instagram video with Chris Bumstead.
That being said, guys, there is a lot of darkness to taking these steroids. The lifestyle, a lot of the things that you see on social media is the best that you can see, but there's also a very, very dark truth. This is long-term side effects that I've explained to Brandon. He's expressed his knowledge of the topic, and he's expressed the particular precautions he's taking to combat them. But this video here in particular is to put it out there to a lot of people, is that you are increasing the risk for a lot of these things to happen to you if you do decide to go down that route. I highly advise not to, but if you do so with precaution and do so with the idea that these are potential risks. I could go on and dive into the topic of steroid use, but do be careful. I hope the video was informative. I hope the video was eye-opening. If you guys did enjoy it, drop it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. It's been your boy Dr. Diamonds, and I'm out.